Lord God placed man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. But the Lord God warned him, "You may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat of its fruit, you are sure to die." So here we have Adam placed in God's garden and given just one command. He is also given the consequence of his choice, should he ever do the unthinkable and disobey God. It's highly doubtful that the tree of knowledge of good and evil contained any secret sauce, so to speak, that opened mankind's eyes to sin. It was much more basic than that. Obey God and live, or disobey God and die. Really not fundamentally different than today, other than Adam and Eve did not start with the disadvantage we call a sin nature. So an appropriate question here is this one: what is sin? 1 John 3:4, "Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." But wait, Adam and Eve's sin was way before God gave us even the 10 Commandments. What law were they breaking? They were breaking the law of God written into their DNA, and the law that said, "You may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die." When we think of the law, we tend to think of Moses and the 10 Commandments and the rest of the law that God gave to Israel. What God gave to Moses was not morally different from what he gave all of us in our genetic code, except for his ceremonial statutes. Romans 2:14, "For when the Gentiles, who do not have the law, by nature do what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the law. They show that the work of the law is written on their hearts." As the Romans 2 text shows us, people are born into this world with a knowledge of God, of right and wrong, written into their DNA. The fact that we believe sin exists and is contrary to God's plan for the universe is fundamental to our worldview. It gives answers to some basic questions and problems in this life. Secular psychologists cannot explain why man is as he is, but we can. We are as we are because of sin. Since we covered the creation of woman in an earlier lesson, we will now go on to Genesis chapter 3, and what happens there will dominate the kind of worldview we construct. In chapter 2, God set the stage for mankind to make choices: obey and be blessed, or disobey and be cursed by God. In chapter 3, we will see the devastating results of the choice that Adam and Eve made. Original sin is a big, big deal. If there were no such thing as sin, the Bible after chapter 2 would be mostly irrelevant. We are not sinners because we sin. We sin because we are sinners. That's from R.C. Sproul. Most evangelicals today believe in original sin, and everyone who has ever lived, including Adam and Eve, have been affected by it. Without original sin, there would have been no need for redemption and no spot in history to point to as the explanation for the ugliness we deal with every day. So where did sin originate? Ezekiel tells us, "You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone: red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonstone, blue-green beryl, onyx, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald, all beautifully crafted for you and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day you were created. I ordained and anointed you as the mighty angelic guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day you were created until the day evil was found in you." We see here in Ezekiel 28 that one of God's created angelic beings, who can only be Lucifer, was the first one to have his sin recorded and surely the first to ever sin. So where did his sin come from? According to Ezekiel, his sin came from within himself, just as Adam's did. Consider this about Lucifer. He had nothing within nor without to entice him to sin. He just did. Quite a mystery. Points to ponder. Adam was placed in God's garden and given just one command. The fact that we believe sin exists and is contrary to God's plan for the universe is fundamental to our worldview. Original sin is a big, big deal. If there were no such thing as sin, the Bible after chapter 2 would be mostly irrelevant. This class, and indeed the entire school, is dedicated to helping others see that God is bigger than we think and better than we know. To get to the next video, make a note of the class number for this recording, then search for the next one. Here is a sample. If this video is number L01.1, then the next one is L01.2. And remember to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow on Rumble.